I'll read from Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text 55. Bhaktyamam abhijanati yavan yaschashmi tattvataha tato mam tattvato gnatva vishate tat anantaram. I'll read one line at a time, and maybe you all can repeat by yourself. Bhaktyamam abhijanati
Bhaktya mam abhijanati
yavan yaschashmi tattvataha
Yavan yaschashmi tattvataha
tato mam tattvato gnatva
Tato mam tattva
tattva
vishate tad anantaram.
vishate tat anantaram.
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his plenary portions cannot be understood by mental speculation nor by the non-devotees. If anyone wants to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has to take to pure devotional service under the guidance of a pure devotee. Otherwise, the truth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead will always be hidden. As already stated in Bhagavad Gita 18.55, Naham Prakasha Sarvasya, he is not revealed to everyone. No one can understand God simply by erudite scholarship or mental speculation. Only one who is actually engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service can understand what Krishna is. University degrees are not helpful. One who is fully conversant with the Krishna science becomes eligible to enter into the spiritual kingdom, the abode of Krishna. Becoming Brahman does not mean that one loses his identity. Devotional service is there. And as long as devotional service exists, there must be God, the devotee, in the process of devotional service. Such knowledge is never vanquished, even after liberation. Liberation involves getting free from the concept of material life. In spiritual life, the same distinction is there. The same individuality is there, but in pure Krishna consciousness. One should not mistakenly think that the word Vishate enters into me supports the monist theory that one becomes homogeneous with the impersonal Brahman. No. Vishate means that one can enter into the abode of the Supreme Lord in one's individuality to engage in his association and render service unto him. For instance, a green bird enters a green tree not to become one with the tree, but to enjoy the fruits of the tree. Impersonalists generally give the example of a river flowing into the ocean and merging. This may be a source of happiness for the impersonalist, but the personalist keeps his personal individuality like an aquatic in the ocean. We find so many living entities within the ocean. If we go deep, surface acquaintance with the ocean is not sufficient. One must have complete knowledge of the aquatics living in the ocean depths. Because of his pure devotional service, a devotee can understand the transcendental qualities and the opulences of the Supreme Lord in truth. As it is stated in the 11th chapter, only by devotional service can one understand the same is confirmed here. One can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead by devotional service and enter into his kingdom. After attainment of the Brahma Bhuta stage of freedom from material conceptions, devotional service begins by one's hearing about the Lord. When one hears about the Supreme Lord, automatically the Brahma Bhuta stage develops. and material contamination, greediness and lust for sense enjoyment disappears. As lust and desires disappear from the heart of a devotee, he becomes more attached to the service of the Lord. And by such attachment, he becomes free from material contamination. In that state of life, he can understand the Supreme Lord. This is the statement of Srimad Bhagavatam also. After liberation, the process of bhakti or transcendental service continues. The Vedanta Sutra confirms this. Aprayanat tatrapi hi drishtam. This means that after liberation, the process of devotional service continues. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, real devotional service is defined as a reinstatement of the living entity in his own identity, his own constitutional position. The constitutional position is already explained. Every living entity is a part and parcel, fragmental portion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, his constitutional position is to serve. After liberation, this service is never stopped. Actual liberation is getting free from misconceptions of life. One can understand me as I am, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, only by devotional service. And when one is in full consciousness of me by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. All right. Okay, so this is the sum and substance of the entire Bhagavad Gita. You know, when you know the story of when Krishna and Balaram, after they relieved their parents from the shackles, killed Kamsa, and relieved Devaki and Vasudev from the shackles, and then they had their Brahminical thread ceremony. And then they went to school to study in Sandipani Muni Ashram. And after that, they studied many different arts there. And after that, when the studies were done, Krishna and Balaram went up to their spiritual master and said, Gurudev, what can I offer to you as a dakshina? It is a Vedic culture that whoever is our teacher, that we complete our duty as a student when we do give them Guru Dakshina. So when he asked, Sandipani Muni very well knew this is Krishna and Balaram, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Sandipani Muni went to his wife and said, what do you say? Should we not ask for something very extraordinary that only somebody like him can give? So those who are co-hosts, can you please manage the participants? All right. So he said, should we not ask for something extraordinary? So his wife was, well, as you wish. He says, yes, let's test them out. So Sandipani Muni came and said, Krishna, Balaram, since you're asking me for Guru Dakshina, can you please get my son who drowned in the ocean near Prabhakshetra? He drowned in the ocean. And can you bring him back? Now imagine our spiritual master asking us even something as simple as, Prabhu, can you quit your job and just follow me and join me? Or Prabhu, can you give me your oldest son and can I take him with me? We would be like, oops, wrong spiritual master. Krishna and Balaram were ready. This is as you order, Sandipani Muni, Acharya. And they went to Prabhakshetra, to the ocean, and they called upon the ocean that my Gurudev's son drowned here. And I've come here to take him back to my spiritual master. The ocean was very scared, folded hands and said, my Lord, your Guru Bandhu is not here with me. He drowned, but he was actually taken by the demon. What's the demon's name? Anybody remember? Yes, Abhay.
Yamaraj.
No, before that.
Okay.
Panchajanya. So it's taken by Panchajanya. So Krishna and Balaram went right into the ocean and found Panchajanya. And basically had a fight with him. He says, where is the son of my Gurudev? He says, I don't have it. He killed him, opened his stomach, hoping to find the son over there. But the son was not present. Finally, they realized that he has died, and let's go and check out in Yamaloka, where after death the soul goes. So they went to Yamlok. When they approached Yamlok, there was so much like an earthquake with every step that Krishna and Balaram took. Yamaraj was completely bewildered. Finally, his Yamadutas panicked and says, Yamaraj, we don't know who these are. They're walking in. Yamaraj came out, saw it was Krishna and Balaram, fell at their lotus feet, and obviously the son was there. He gave his son back. Krishna and Balaram brought him back. When he brought him back to Sandipani Muni, Acharya, he was so happy. And in return, he blessed Krishna. He says, Krishna, whatever you speak going forward will be the truth and will remain the truth for ages and ages to come. And what he spoke later on was the Bhagavad Gita. So every word in the Bhagavad Gita that he has said is the truth and only the truth. The reason I said this story is because this verse is very relevant for today's topic, which is there's so many different forms of yoga, but at the end, Krishna says that it is only through bhakti, through devotional service, that one can come back to me, not through any other process. There are many karma yogis out there. There are many jnana yogis out there. Hatha yogis, every nook and corner, yoga center is popping up. But those will not get us the ultimate goal of life, which is we are spirit souls and we belong to a spiritual place, not this material place. Our condition right now is like a fish out of water. A spirit being is jailed in a material body. That's our situation right now. So only through devotion, there are many karmis who are wonderful souls, very much in the mode of goodness, very sattvic. They'll never hurt anybody. They'll do a lot of social work. And for them, their work and their duty is religion. Mera dharma, mera kaam hai. My dharma is service to my family. My dharma is service to my country. And many such dharmas are there. But we must understand what is the meaning of dharma. There's a very wonderful book called Dharma. And in that, it explains what is the meaning of dharma. The meaning of dharma, to understand, first we have to understand whose dharma. My dharma. An animal's dharma. A tree's dharma. Chili that we eat, it's dharma. What is sugar's dharma? What is salt's dharma? So similarly, what is my dharma? And when we say my dharma, we are not talking, Vedic knowledge goes beyond this body. So we're not talking about my as in this body's dharma. When dharma word is used, it refers to that being which is eternal and spiritual, which is the soul. So what is the dharma of the soul is explained in the Shastras. The dharma of the soul is to serve the super soul. That is the dharma. And we see that that dharma is there in each and every living entity, but it's just transformed into material, and it's reflection of what the spiritual is, which means that my dharma as a spirit soul is to serve that super soul. But because I do not know that I'm a soul, because I don't know about the super soul, I'm serving through this body another body. I'm serving my parents, or I'm serving my nation, and that's what's happening right now. But the moment we try to understand that I am a spirit soul, and the spirit soul is eternal, nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavaka, nainam kledayanti apo, nashoshyati maruta. This soul cannot be killed by any weapon, cannot be withered by wind, water, fire, nothing. Cannot be burned by fire. So I am eternal. Now, why am I here, number one, in this material body? We are here in this material body only because we chose to be in this material body. I'll just go back to 101 basics of spiritual life. That we all have this, our desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. Originally, we were all with Krishna. We were all in the spiritual world. But at some point, we feel like, I also want to enjoy. How does it feel to be the enjoyed? And at that moment, because Krishna is such a lover, is such a father, that he does not hold a gun on our forehead and say, love me or else I shoot you. He gives us that independence. And because he gives us that independence, that very little independence through which we feel that I want to enjoy separately, this material world was created in which for us to enjoy. Okay, go enjoy. In the spiritual world, I am the enjoyer. But my prakriti, my nature, my material nature, that's where you can go and enjoy. And as soon as we came here, we took one of the many, many bodies. And now we're suffering in this material body. Now we are here and we've gone through so many births. We've gone through so many yonis, through so many mothers. Sometimes as an insect, sometimes as a worm, animal, beasts, plants, birds, human beings. We've gone through many, many, many various levels. But after many, many forms, finally one comes to the human form. And the human birth is very rare. And now here we are sitting and hearing about Bhagavad Gita. An animal will not understand what is my karma. You know, they naturally do their duty, but they will not understand devotional service. One will have to go through a lot of suffering to come back to this human form of life. So Krishna very clearly says that only through bhakti one can come to me. Now, this is something that Krishna said, Sandimani Muni said, whatever you say will be the truth and will be heard for millenniums. So we have to first accept the fact that what Krishna is saying is truth. When I came to Krishna consciousness, I had many questions. Why this, why that, why this, why that, why this, why that? But as soon as I read Srila Prabhupada's books and I understood who the writer of these books is, after that, whatever I read, I took it as the truth. Now, a lot of things went above my head. A lot of things I may have not understood, but I understood that this is the truth. Now, how it is explained, why Srila Prabhupada said something, then for that we have to go to a teacher. We have the books in our colleges and universities. We can't just pick up the books and study and give an exam. No way. You've got to have a teacher. You have an author of the book, and then you have somebody who takes that book and then teaches us. So then to get clarification, we approach a Siksha Guru or a Diksha Guru, and then they explain. But the question we all must ask ourselves is that Have I accepted these books as the truth? Have I accepted every word spoken by Srila Prabhupada or his disciples as the truth? If we are at that first level, if we have some doubt, we need to go back to that and check ourselves and start from there. Because that's where people generally fail. That they accept, they like ISKCON, they like the programs, they like the kirtans, they like the prasadam, but in philosophy, they're still not sure. And when you're not sure, what happens is you have faith, but you do not have conviction. You do not have conviction in the words spoken by Krishna and explained by Srila Prabhupada. So it is very much important to go to that fact. So you go through the entire Bhagavad Gita, and at the end you find out in the last chapter that it is only bhakti. Now when it says only bhakti, and all our previous acharyas have gone through this line, and they've created a path for us, a very simple path that they have walked on. They've experienced everything. Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami were karmis, they were working. They had the biggest salaries in those days. They've given and renounced all these things to take up devotional service. So now in our situation, we need not do research of which way or process is better, which organization is better. There may be many, many organizations, many spiritual organizations preaching the message of Bhagavad Gita. But the way to identify a good tree is to see the fruit it bears. So wherever you go, wherever you hear, whatever you hear, first you must understand who is the center of this message. Is it the Supreme Lord? Does the person or the acharya of that, whoever is speaking, do they recognize the Supreme Lord as a person or an imperson? Imperson means Mayavadi philosophy, which means God is there, I accept, but God does not have a body. God is Nirakar. So that is not complete knowledge. The Brahmajyoti is there, but beyond that Brahmajyoti is also the Supreme Lord as a person. So what is spoken over there? Is Krishna the center? If Krishna is spoken, then what is the process mentioned? Is the process of Nauda Bhakti, 9 process of devotional service spoken by Prahlad Maharaj mentioned? Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, singing the glories of the Lord. Vishnu Smaranam, remembering the Lord. Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, Atma Nivedanam, like that, all these processes are mentioned or not. We go by what is said in the scriptures, not by how eloquent a speaker is. There are these days in YouTube many, many eloquent speakers who talk. People go and interview them and say, well, do you believe that there is Lord Shiva? Do you believe that Bhagavad Gita was spoken in Kurukshetra? Well, Kurukshetra is our body. Those for horses are our mind. All these types of analogies are being given and people are misled. Now we have the best of the best books. We know Krishna. We know that devotional service is the easiest actually, especially for this age. Krishna says all these processes of yoga will take you to the event, eventually will lead you to the same destination, which is God realization. But we do not have enough time in this age of Kali Yuga. Krite yadhyayato Vishnu, Tretayam yajato makhay, Dwapare paricharyayam, Kalautad hari kirtanat. What we can achieve in Kali Yuga just by singing the glories of the holy names of the Lord can be achieved now by what was done in Satyug. By doing yagyas, meditation, then yagya, then temple worship, all that can be achieved in this age by just doing Harinam Sankirtan. So through devotional process, through becoming a devotee. Now, if we want to become devotees, then first thing we have to know who are we devoted to. So we need to know about that person who we want to love. It is not possible to love somebody you don't know. or you don't know enough. So the next step is to know Krishna, to know all the Vishnu Tattvas, Narasimha, Rama, Vamana, Prahlada, all these devotees. If we do not read and invest our time in learning and knowing about the Lord, how in the world would we develop bhakti? So, to certain level, we need jnana also. Knowledge is important, but we are not jnanis. We are not philosophers, but we need knowledge. If you do not have the jnana, there's no way of understanding. If you wanted to come to America, you need to know what America is. What are the benefits of going to America? Once we know all the benefits of going to America, you want to start a business, you need to do a full research about that business, the location, who your customers are, what is the return on investment, etc. If we don't know all this, then you're going to fail. So similarly, we must invest our time in reading and hearing about Krishna. This is a book I highly recommend called Krishna book. Those who do not have it or have not read it, from his appearance, from his birth until Krishna departs this world, all the different pastimes are listed in there. When we read about Krishna, then we develop love and faith in Krishna. Then we'll do devotional service. And devotional service means not just me and Krishna. Sometimes people want to, Krishna is there, God is everywhere. I don't need to go to the temple. I don't need to offer God anything. Yes, that is also true. But we are not at that level yet. We are not so renounced where all the time we are thinking about Krishna. There was one saint, I remember the story, where when his feet was placed on where the prasadam plate was, and this another person came and said, "Why are you putting your feet here? This is where the Lord is." He says, "Where do you want me to put?" He said, "No, you put it on this direction." And in that direction, he says, "Isn't the Lord in that direction either?" So the saint was seeing the Lord in every place. We are not in that situation. We are still thinking about many, many material things. So we are doing our sadhana bhakti process by rules and regulations. Wake up in the morning, do our rounds, offer your bhoga to the Lord. By doing these practices, someday we will develop spontaneous love for Krishna. But until then, we have to follow these rules and regulations. But it is only through this process of bhakti that we can develop. And many times people criticize, bhakti yoga is not the way only. Bhakti yoga is meant for people who did not have the understanding to understand the Shastra. They were not intelligent enough to read the Shastra and understand the Shastra. That's why people like Sant Tukaram, Gnaneshwar, Janabai, Narsi Mehta, all these, they were not so highly educated. They were very simple. So for them, their gurus gave them this chant and sing and chant. But in history, we can see that there was nobody else who could have darshan of Krishna just by reciting verses after verses. It was only through devotional service. It was only through prem that Krishna revealed himself, not through intelligence. So do we have that soft heart to call upon Krishna? Devotee means very soft-hearted, very humble. I know I'm not there yet, but the endeavor is every morning. I was just telling somebody yesterday that, Prabhu, every morning I get up, I have to reset my one button. I have many buttons. When you get up in the morning, you start, right? You start your microwave, you start your gas, you start your bathroom lights, you start your shower. You have to start this every day. You have certain tasks. We just do it naturally. We don't even think about it. Even if you wake up at late night when it's dark, pitch dark, and you want to drink water, and the light switch is on the other end of the house, and you have a water jug, you just don't even bother opening the light. You just know where to go and how to do it. You don't think about it. In Krishna consciousness also, many times we are doing things mechanically. And we have all these buttons. Wake up, okay, take a shower. Okay, do all these things. Open Aarti. Hare Krishna, Danvats. But we do these things mechanically, but we forget to reset our buttons every day. What are those buttons? The buttons of humility. Every day we have to reset. Because what happens is the more we start learning or becoming more and more and more knowledgeable in Krishna consciousness, we become senior in Krishna consciousness, the level of humility could start declining. Our heart that was soft when we came first into Krishna consciousness, where everybody was a representative of the Lord. Everybody seemed like Vishnu Dutas. When we see them with tilaka and dhoti and kurta and sadi and kantimala, we felt that we are here in Vaikuntha. And we offer our most humble obeisances. And as soon as we start realizing that actually they are not Vishnu Dutas, and then what happens? We become little puffed up. Knowledge comes. Now I know shlokas. Now I know this and I know that. And then gradually, that soft-heartedness that we had, which everything we would hear, even the kirtans we would hear and we would feel like dancing and tears would flow from our eyes, suddenly those tears dry up. We don't feel that joy anymore. We start challenging devotees. We start offending devotees. We start criticizing devotees. And the path that we started on, going back home, back to Godhead, in the train of Bhakti Yoga, suddenly it was a fast train, suddenly starts making multiple stops and starts going very slow. The only reason is because in the train, there is a pulley. When you pull that pulley, the train stops. And the problem is that there's nobody else who's pulling that pulley, but it's us, ourselves, who pulls it. And the train driver is there inside our heart, right here. The Spirit's, the Supreme, the Paramatma, is there. He's guiding us. He's taking us. But every now and then we pull, and the train stops. And the Paramatma is like, what happened? What happened? And we don't listen to the Paramatma. And we want to do our things. We want to start challenging, criticizing, many anarthas. So every morning I say, you wake up in the morning and think that this is your last day to live. This morning when you wake up, every morning when you wake up, do we have a ritual? When you wake up in the morning, do you just jump off the bed and take your phone and join your meetings and log into your laptop and join your meetings? Or before you wake up, while you have to do that too, that do you pray that thank you, Krishna, for giving me one more day. And I'm going to make a difference today. And you reset those batteries again and again. I know it's very difficult, but we must do that. We have to eat every day. We have to cut our lawns and grass every week or other week. We can't say that, I'll do it once and then stop it. So similarly in our life, devotional life, we must remember ourselves as the servant of the Lord. I'm nothing but a servant of the Lord, my spiritual master. And we have to continue taking that humble position. When Krishna sees that this person is so simple, this person is so soft-hearted, this person is not kapati, is not duplicit with people. He does not utilize and manipulate people for his own benefits. He does not, especially with devotees. When devotees are used, devotees are meant to be used in Krishna's service. But when devotees are used for my service, then I put myself before Krishna. We must learn the art of engaging myself and everybody else in Krishna's service, not in my service. When we start doing this, Krishna is very pleased. Then you may know the scriptures, you may know the verses, you may not know the verses. You may be a good cook or a bad cook. It does not matter because Krishna looks at your heart. Krishna sees that this person in material terms is the most uneducated. not a Pandita, but has that heart which we are meant to develop after reading Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. What are all these scriptures meant for? We are hearing so many lectures from so many devotees. Are we taking notes, at least one point from those lectures, and trying to implement in our life? See, in my class when I was growing up, there was about 55 students from first grade to 10th grade, 55 students in a class. And I noticed that those who were coming, the top 5, were always sitting in the front, were always taking notes, were always doing their homework, they were always paying attention to the teacher, and they had certain commonalities between them. Now, I belonged to a group which was from the last 5, from 50 to 55 is where I was. And all those who were in that category had a certain trend. We were all in the last benches. We all sneaked out of the class when the teacher turned around to write something on the board. And we all crunched for our exams at the final hour when we realized that the paper that was supposed to come, we got some exam, we leaked some papers and we were trying to study that and that did not come, and we would crunch through the night and fail or somehow make it. So we have to understand, do I want to be one of those 55 in the back or I want to be in the front? The front means they're always serious. When Krishna Katha starts, when Krishna topic starts, they're always serious about it. When Krishna Katha stops and when we are at work and all that, okay, there's time to relax also. But when Guru is speaking, when a devotee is speaking, their ears are like this all the way up. And one of the other trends that I saw in those who were in the top 5 and the top 10, where they were never have to be told by their parents, study, do your homework, do this, do that. They never had to be told. So as Bhakti Yogis also, it is really up to us. We have been given the standards. We have been told what to do and what not to do. But now it's up to us. It's up to us to set that alarm clock for early morning and wake up. The job of Guru is done. The job of Prabhupada is done. Now it is up to us. There are 46 people on this call. And out of the 46, there'll be 5 or 10 who will take this very seriously. They'll take it upon themselves, not caring of what others are doing. There'll be the rest of the batch who will go with the flow, and there will be last 5, 10 who will say, well, it was a good lecture, I didn't like the lecture, and maybe next time. And they'll go back and, let's have dinner now, let's watch a movie, and, let's end our Sunday night with, something fun. And that's okay too, because if not this life, next life. So what's the big deal? But one who is serious about Krishna consciousness and understands that, we went through some very bad phases in America, those who have lived here for 15, 20 years. 9/11 was one of the last biggest things that hit us that comes to my mind. The entire country was shaken up. Coronavirus is the next one. After all these calamities, if we still don't realize that there is no tomorrow, there is no next, then when will it happen? So I'm speaking to those, I would like to, because I like to speak to myself first, and hence I'm saying that I'm speaking to myself that we must take it upon us to take this seriously. My family member gets up early or not, doesn't matter. I must wake up, I must do my rounds, I must do 16 rounds, because guess what? When time comes to go back home, back to Godhead, it's not a package deal, it's not a family deal. Okay, all of you going, or it's you, the spirit soul. Now, if you're going, you may be given an option. Do you want to take your family member with you? Well, that's been there in the history. Tukaram Maharaj had that option. Vishnu asked, do you want to take your wife with you? Wife refused to go with him. But he was given that option. So if we do it, we will not only save ourselves, but we will save all our ancestors and the next generations to come, and also those who are existing right now. So take this seriously, very seriously. And remember, it is through devotional service, and devotee means Vaishnava janato tene kahiye je peed parai jane re. One who understands the problems and miseries of others. Very important. Not my miseries, not my problems. My problems secondary. My problems, who wants to talk about my problems to Krishna? You know, do you get tears when you hear the problems of others? See, Krishna looks for these qualities. We must learn the art of crying. Our own, His Holiness Govind Swami Maharaj from Orissa, he passed away, he left his body. But he always in his books, he would say, learn the art of crying for Krishna. Become simple. Devotional life means becoming very, very simple and humble. Every morning we wake up and we fold our hands in front of the Lord, in front of the Acharyas. We pray, please come into my heart. Please give me that bhakti. And to come into us, our heart, Krishna, we have to make our heart very special, very soft-heartedness. That's why when we talk to devotees, we are soft until somebody says something to us. And that is when our test begins. So remember, our true test is not when everything is going well. Our true test in devotional life is when things are going not according to how it's supposed to go. When your health deteriorates, when your finances breaks, when your job loses, when somebody insults you, when somebody steps on you, when somebody doesn't listen to you, that's when the test begins. That's the exam paper. Up until then, you've just done your practice. You've just done a dry run. Now is the formal testing. Those who are in IT. Formal testing begins at that point. And when formal testing begins, that's when whatever we've heard, whatever we have learned, we must put it into practice. That's when we must remember these pastimes, like I said about Sandipani Muni and Krishna going. How did Krishna reciprocate to the orders of his spiritual master? That pastime we must remember when our spiritual master asks us for something. All these stories are meant to help us grow. They are not just stories. And hence it's so important to read these stories. And another thing is never say things like, well, that was Krishna, that was Kunti, that was Lord Ram, that was Bharat, that was Hanuman, that was Prahlad Maharaj. You know, I am nobody. No, it's not like that. Who's stopping us from becoming great devotees of the Lord? That is the first problem, mistake we do, that we do not have that, develop that self-confidence. We must not be proud, but we must develop that self-confidence that Krishna has given me everything I can do to become a pure devotee of the Lord. He has first of all introduced me to Prabhupada, because the moment you belittle yourself and you say that I can't do this, then we are not only belittling ourselves, we are belittling our spiritual master and Srila Prabhupada. We're saying that his books cannot change me. Obviously his books can change us. He can make a stone into a diamond. So all of us here can become wonderful devotees. But remember to never, never, ever hurt any living entity. Always remain humble. Serve in the spirit of being a servant of others. And then nobody can then affect you at all. And it's a practice. We will fail at times. And it's okay to fail. It's not how many times you fail. It's how many times you get up when you fail. Just like recently I read a quote by Shivram Swami Maharaj, where it says, it's not about how many likes you got on the Facebook. It's not about how many likes you got on the Facebook. It's about how many lives you changed, how many lives you touched. That is important. And to touch other people's life, we have to become a giver. Are you a giver or are you a receiver? You know, I always want things. But a devotee is, no, I always want to give things. I want to give. And the more he gives, the more Krishna keeps supplying. Krishna knew that Draupadi's sari is going to be taken away. Krishna knew this. Krishna knew this many, many years ago when Draupadi was cutting vegetables and Krishna says, Draupadi, can I help you? And he started helping her. And while cutting vegetables, Krishna cuts his finger and it starts bleeding. Now, Krishna bleeding, transcendental body, Prabhus and Matajis, how is he bleeding? And Draupadi instinctively tore her sari and tied it. And Krishna, are you okay? Krishna says, I'm indebted to you. You gave me a piece of your small little sari, you tore and you tied this. Draupadi, I'm indebted to you. Why? Because Krishna knew. Krishna put himself in debt to his devotee before even the incident happened. You see, that's our Krishna. He made that situation. So now he was just waiting because he remembers Draupadi did this for me. So Krishna also knows when we are going to fail, when we are going to need him. All this he knows. But he still puts himself in debt to us. We were reading the story of Amrish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni. When Durvasa Muni understood his mistake and came to Amrish Maharaj to ask for forgiveness, what was Amrish Maharaj's reaction? Amrish Maharaj was ashamed. He was ashamed that somebody as great as Durvasa Muni is falling at his lotus feet. You see? He wasn't like, pata chala, mere saath panga nahi lene ka. Mere saath panga liya to dekha kya hua? Sudarshan Chakra came. Vishnu के पास गए तो वो भी आपको किधर भेजे? मेरे पास ही भेजा ना. Next time ऐसा करना नहीं क्या प्रभु? No, he was ashamed of himself that it came to that point where Durvasa had to ask for forgiveness. Are we in that situation? When somebody comes up to us and says, Prabhuji, Mataji, please forgive me. Andar se are we like roses फूट रहे? आ गया ना अब माफी मांगने को. Or are we feeling ashamed that मैंने ऐसा कैसे position में डाल दिया उनको, that they are coming and asking me for forgiveness? Are we in that position where we can stand up to somebody and say, please forgive me? Because when you ask for forgiveness, that's again a devotional quality. That's bhakti. Only few people can do that. And only few people can go back home, back to Godhead. So if you want to go back home, back to Godhead, I'll summarize that we need to have these qualities. Many of these qualities we need to develop. But it's okay. I'm most fallen. I have no quality. And let people ride me, it's okay. And that's what the Shikshashtakam prayers also teaches us. Krishna, let anybody and everybody ride over me. It's okay. So I'll pause here. And if there's any question, we'll take the question. Hare Krishna. Am I the host also?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, for sharing your wonderful realizations and for this class. I just had a clarification to ask Prabhuji. You mentioned that Sandipani Muni blessed Krishna, saying that, whatever you say will become true. But wasn't that already the case? If, Krishna is God, whatever he says should already be true, right?
Yes, but again, remember that the Lord also depends upon his spiritual master. Yes, the Lord is independent, but at the same time, he's showing that it was because of my spiritual master also. Krishna, his spiritual master also knew, but again, he's also blessing. And without Brahmanas' blessings, Krishna shows in many pastimes, right? Without the mercy and blessings of Brahmanas and Gurus, nothing is possible. And here it clearly says, these glorious acts of yours will always be renowned all over the world. You are above all blessing, he says. You are above all blessings, Krishna. Yet it is my duty to bless you, Sandipani Muni is saying. I therefore give you the benediction that whatever you speak will remain as eternally fresh as the instructions of the Vedas. So this is where we see the beautiful leelas, pastimes between spiritual master and the Lord also. And here's a lesson to learn for us. Like, we don't get stuck on that point, like, well, Krishna was also, well, was he not before that blessing? Yes, he was. But what we learn from this lesson is that no matter who we are, no matter how big we are, but in front of a spiritual master, we are nothing more than an ant. Okay?
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So thank you for fulfilling the wish. This is really like wish fulfilling, as they say that devotees are wish fulfilling trees. So this is what happened. I just wanted to, I just heard a class in the morning by Amarendra Prabhu, and he was talking about the significance of bhakti, and he presented a very nice, he was kind of explaining that how it goes. So he was saying that if you look at the words karma, jnana, these are all masculine words, and bhakti is a feminine word. And as we know, that's the law of this nature, that opposite attracts. So with karma and jnana, Maya may come and associate there because the opposite attracts. So masculine and feminine elements, they can come together and the attraction can be there. So basically he was trying to say that karmis and yogis still can fall back to Maya. That fall is possible. But bhakti is a feminine tattva, and so is Maya Devi. And he again quoted Prabhupada, and he said that that's one chuckling an example of the chuckling jokes that Srila Prabhupada would say that if you put two men in a room, they can stay peacefully. But if you put two women in a room, they probably couldn't stay in the room for too long. So if we imbibe bhakti in our life, if we invite Bhakti Devi in our life, Maya Devi will stay away from us. So without devotional service, it's not possible to avoid Maya Devi at all. So I just wanted to bring that point because the topic was on that. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. But also at the same time, I would say that as soon as we start bhakti, we feel that all problems just started coming now. When we started bhakti, before bhakti, I didn't have all these problems, all these responsibilities. My goodness, now I'm like deep in water, you know? So yes, obviously when you take up some tasks, if you want to take up masters, you want to take a PhD or do something in life, there's going to be challenges. It's not just going to be so easy. So all these tests will come up, but we have to just remain, stick to the basics that I spoke about in the class. Any other question, comments?
Prabhu, I have a question too.
Yeah.
So Krishna and Balram, they brought back Sandipani Muni's son, but in what form could he come back? Because they went to Yamaloka and his soul was there. So did he come as a soul or body? I mean, how was his existence there when he came back?
A very good question. He came back as he was, as he had left, in the same body. But because again, for the Lord, it's not difficult. And we saw this even in the Ramayana, after the battle was over. All the Vanaras who had died in the battle were again brought back to life as they were. Their bodies got stitched up. If their arm was lying in some other corner, everything came back and everything was as it was. So, and also in the pastime of, we heard this pastime recently, I don't know where, there's been so many classes, but even when in Shivasangan, when his son left his body and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all the devotees were singing and he had left his body, he had died. His body was, but when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and took the son's body in his lap, the soul came back and the body was revived again. So yes, he came back in the same body as he was.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else?
Thank you, Prabhu. one question. The verse when you were explaining, so how do we remember Krishna as a supreme personality all the time?
So Krishna can be remembered in various forms, different moods. We know those different forms, ways. One is in Santaras, Dasyaras, Sakyaras, parental love, and Madhuryaras, like that, different forms. The way Srila Prabhupada, in our movement, we worship the Lord is in awe and reverence, as He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, not just like as a Sakya, as a friend, or as a lover. We don't treat Krishna, Radharani's pastimes, we want to sing, dance with Radha Krishna. No, not like that. We do it in the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And to remember that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, we have to remember not that Krishna is the Supreme Lord, but we have to remember that I am the Supreme Servant. If we can constantly remember that I am the most fallen servant, then automatically remember that I'm the servant of this master. When in India, or most of us are from India or Nepal, we had servants in the house. And a good servant was who would always remember that he's a servant, would always remember his position. And by remembering the position, they also remember the master. But if you just focus on the master, you feel that I'm the best servant. And in that, we sometimes commit offenses and then we forget the master also. And we start becoming the master. So that's the way, many ways to do it, but one way is that to remember that I am the servant of that master. And that, that is the position wise. Now, how to remember Krishna all the time is by following the Vaidhi Bhakti that we've been given, 2 hours of chanting. While we are working, we are remembering Smaranam Krishna. We are hearing Shravanam Krishna. We're speaking Krishna. So as much as we can do, until we retire from our work life, we may not be able to do it 24 hours a day time. But as we get older and older and older, and we are getting to that, then full-time dedication, that will also come. We have to be patient for that. But right now, given our situation, jitna kar sake utna kar.